The morning alarm rang across the underground facility buried. Deep beneath the mountains of Korea, Dr. Kim Ji-ho rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the massive machine that filled the cavern around him. He had been working on this project for 15 long years. The particle accelerator stretched for many kilometers through the rock. Its metal rings hummed with power that could light up entire cities. Ji-ho walked slowly along the metal walkway above the machine. His team of scientists worked at computer stations below him. They'd been trying to solve the problem of faster-than-light travel for decades. Every other attempt had failed. But today felt different. Today they were going to try something that no human had ever attempted before. Dr. Kim called out Dr. Park Mingi from her station. She was one of his best engineers. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing screens in front of her. The quantum systems are ready. All power levels are stable. Ji-ho nodded and walked down the metal steps to join his team. The machine they had built was unlike anything that existed on Earth. It did not use rockets or engines like normal spacecraft. Instead, it used the power of black holes. Not real black holes that would destroy everything, but tiny artificial ones that lasted for only a fraction of a second. The idea was simple but extremely dangerous. The machine would create these tiny black holes in front of a spacecraft. The gravity from the black holes would pull and squeeze the space in front of the ship. At the same time, it would push and expand the space behind the ship. This would allow the spacecraft to travel faster than light without actually moving through space in the normal way. "Begin the startup sequence," Ji-ho commanded. The lights in the facility dimmed as enormous amounts of electricity flowed into the machine. The metal rings began to glow with a blue light. Energy readings on the computer screens climbed higher and higher. 700 terawatts of power flowed through the system. It was enough energy to power entire countries. In the center of the accelerator, reality itself began to bend and twist. The space around the machine started to ripple like water. Warning alarms began to sound as the computers detected something they had never seen before. The fabric of space and time was being torn apart. "Energy cascade is holding steady," reported Dr. Yang Hairan, another member of the team. She watched her instruments with growing concern. "But sir, we are seeing massive distortions in the quantum field." Ji-ho felt his heart racing. They were not just bending space anymore. They were breaking it. The readings showed that their machine was creating actual tears in the universe itself. These tears were small, but they were real, and they were not healing. "Launch the test probe," he ordered. A small spacecraft, no bigger than a car, sat in the launch chamber. It was unmanned and filled with instruments to record what happened during the jump. The probe activated its experimental drive system. The tiny black holes formed in front of it just as they had planned. What happened next was both amazing and terrifying. The probe simply vanished. One moment it was there, and the next moment it was gone. It did not fade away or fly off quickly. It just disappeared as if it had never existed at all. The space where it had been seemed to shimmer and crack like broken glass. "Probe has successfully jumped," announced Dr. Shin Do-Yan from the tracking station. "It has appeared at Proxima Centauri. Travel time was 4.2 seconds. Entire team fell silent. They had done it. They had sent a spacecraft to another star system in less than 5 seconds. The distance that should have taken thousands of years to cross had been covered in the blink of an eye, but their celebration was short-lived. The computer screens began flashing with red warning messages. The quantum field around Earth was becoming unstable. The tears in space that their machine had created were not disappearing. Instead, they were growing larger. "Sir Mingi," called out, her voice filled with worry, "we are detecting massive subspace distortions. The quantum foam is breaking down. Across several parsecs of space." Ji-ho felt a cold fear wash over him. The quantum foam was what held reality together. It was the foundation that all matter and energy rested upon. If it was breaking down, the consequences could be catastrophic. "Far do the distortions extend?" he asked. "At least 20 light-years in all directions," she replied. "And they are still spreading." The team worked frantically to understand what was happening. Their instruments showed that the artificial black holes were creating a chain reaction. Each tiny black hole was spawning more distortions in space. These distortions were spreading outward like ripples in a pond. "We need to shut down the system," urged Dr. Beijiang, the youngest member of the team. "We do not understand what we have unleashed." But Jiho hesitated. They had achieved the impossible. Humanity now had the power to travel to the stars. The potential benefits were enormous. They could explore the galaxy, find new worlds, and secure the future of the human race. "Continue monitoring," he decided. "We need more data before we make any decisions." Hours passed as the team studied. The readings from their instruments. The distortions in space were not getting worse, but they were not getting better either. The tears in reality remained open, like wounds that would not heal. Then something unexpected happened. The communication systems began picking up strange signals. They were not from any human source. The signals seemed to be coming from deep space, from multiple directions at once. Dr. Kim called out Dr. Park Mingi. "We are receiving transmissions on subspace frequencies. But these are not human transmissions." Jiho felt his blood turn cold. If there were other intelligent species out there, and if they had detected what humanity had done, the implications were staggering. "Can you decode the signals?" he asked. "We are trying," she replied. "But the patterns are completely unlike anything in our databases." As the team worked to understand the alien messages, deep space monitoring stations around the world began detecting massive energy signatures approaching from multiple directions. Whatever was coming was big, and it was heading straight for Earth. The age of humanity's isolation in the universe was about to end. And it was ending because of what they had just done to the fabric of reality itself. Far above the galaxy, in a massive space station made of crystal and metal, the Galactic Council was having an emergency meeting. The station floated in the darkness between stars, its surfaces glowing with soft blue light. Inside, beings from dozens of different worlds had gathered in the great assembly hall. Ambassador Vextari floated in her special suit filled with the methane gas she needed to breathe. Her long tentacles moved with worry as she spoke to the assembled council members. Round her, creatures of all shapes and sizes listened with growing alarm. "The disturbances began 3 days ago," she explained, her voice translated into hundreds of different languages at once. "Our long-range sensors detected massive tears in space-time coming from the Sol system." The council chamber filled with sounds of concern. Some beings chittered nervously. Others made deep growling noises. A few species communicated through colors that flashed across their skin. All of them understood the terrible meaning of what they were hearing. Elder Morden was the oldest member of the council. He had lived for over 1,000 years and had seen many crises. His scaled skin was ancient and weathered, and his large eyes held the wisdom of centuries. He raised one clawed hand to ask for silence. "Show us the data," he commanded in his deep, rumbling voice. The air in the center of the chamber shimmered, and a three-dimensional image appeared. It showed the local area of the galaxy around the Sol system. Angry red lines spread outward from the human star system like cracks in glass. The tears in space-time were growing larger and spreading to nearby star systems. "The humans appear to be using controlled gravitational collapse to achieve faster-than-light travel," Vextari continued. "But their method is creating permanent damage to the fabric of reality itself." A shocked silence fell over the chamber. Every species in the council had developed their own way to travel faster than light. Some used hyperspace tunnels. Others folded space around their ships. Few had learned to slip between dimensions. But all of these methods were safe and left no permanent damage. What the humans were doing was different. They were actually tearing holes in the universe itself. Ambassador Korath was a large, fur-covered being from a world with heavy gravity. His people were known for their strength and their quick tempers. He stood up from his seat, his fur standing on end with anger. "This is madness," he growled. "The humans must be stopped before they destroy everything. They are like children, playing with bombs." "We have tried to contact them," Vextari replied, "but they are not responding to our communications. Our intelligence reports suggest they are preparing for even larger experiments." The council members looked at each other with growing fear. If the humans continued their experiments, the damage to space-time could spread across the entire galaxy. Stars could be torn from their orbits. Planets could be destroyed. Entire civilizations could be wiped out. "What do we know about this species?" asked Elder Morden. A new hologram appeared, showing images of Earth and its people. The humans looked small and weak compared to most galactic species. They had no natural weapons, no thick armor, and no special abilities. But the images showed something else. They showed cities, machines, and weapons that spoke of a species that solved problems. Through technology and determination, they are a young species, reported the Council's intelligence officer. They've only recently developed nuclear weapons in space travel. We classified them as primitive and non-threatening. That assessment was clearly wrong, Morden said. Grimly, a primitive species does not develop technology that can threaten the entire galaxy. The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to destroy the human homeworld immediately. Others suggested trying to negotiate. A few believed they should study the human technology to understand how it worked, but Elder Morden knew that time was running out. Each moment they delayed gave the humans more time to perfect their dangerous technology. If they succeeded in building larger versions of their space-time tearing engines, the consequences would be catastrophic. "The humans have demonstrated abilities we thought were impossible," he said finally. "They have solved the problem of faster-than-light travel in a way that our greatest scientists said could not be done. But they have done it without understanding the true cost." "What are your orders, Elder?" asked Vextory. Morden closed his ancient eyes and thought about the decision he was about to make. In his long life, he had seen many species join the galactic community. Some came peacefully, ready to learn and grow. Others had to be forced to accept the rules that kept the galaxy safe. The humans were different. They were not evil or malicious. They were simply too dangerous to be left alone. Their willingness to break the fundamental laws of physics to achieve their goals made them a threat. "To every living being in the galaxy, prepare the combined fleet," he ordered. "We will go to the Sol system and demand that the humans stop their experiments. If they refuse, we will stop them ourselves." The council chamber erupted in activity. Messages were sent to fleet commands across the galaxy. Ships from dozens of different species began preparing for the journey to Earth. It would be the largest military operation in galactic history. Meanwhile, on a distant monitoring station, scientists watched as the tears in space-time continued to spread. The damage was already affecting nearby star systems. Navigation computers were giving incorrect readings. Communication signals were being distorted. The very fabric of reality was becoming unstable. "The humans have no idea what they have done," one scientist reported to his commanders. "They are continuing their experiments even as their own star system becomes increasingly unstable." The fleet that assembled at the edge of human space was massive. 200 ships of various sizes and designs, each representing a different species and culture. Some were sleek and elegant, designed for speed and grace. Others were massive and heavily armored, built for war. All of them carried the same message. The humans must stop their experiments or face the consequences, as the fleet prepared to enter the Sol system. Elder Morden sent one final message to the other council members. "We go not as conquerors, but as protectors of the galaxy itself. The humans have opened a door that should never have been opened. It is our duty to close it before it is too late." The great fleet moved forward into human space, carrying with it the hopes and fears of countless civilizations. The fate of the galaxy now rested on whether humanity would listen to reason or continue down their dangerous path. Dr. Li Yuan stood in the engineering bay of the Sol Research Station, staring at the modifications her team had made to the experimental drive system. The new version was much larger and more powerful than the small probe they had tested 3 days ago. This time, they were going to test it with a real spacecraft and a human crew. The ship was called the Taigok, a medium-sized vessel about the size of a large building. It had been designed for long-range exploration missions, but now it would be the first human ship to carry the new faster-than-light drive. The crew of 12 volunteers knew they were making history, but they did not know they might be ending it. Captain Cho Sun-ho walked through the ship's corridors, checking on his crew. He was a veteran of many space missions, but this one felt different. The energy readings from the drive system were unlike anything he had ever seen. The ship's hull vibrated with barely contained power. "All systems ready for jump," reported Navigation Officer Young Hiron from the bridge. She was young but skilled, and her voice carried both excitement and nervousness. "Target destination is the Vega system. Distance is 25 light-years." Sun Ho nodded and took his place in the captain's chair. Through the ship's windows, he could see the stars that had been humanity's constant companions throughout history. In a few minutes, they would be leaving those familiar stars behind and venturing into the unknown. "Engineering report," he called out. "Drive system is stable," came the reply from Dr. Lee Giwan. "Artificial black hole generators are online. Space-time manipulation field is ready for activation." The captain looked around at his crew. They were all volunteers who had signed up knowing the risks. Previous calculations showed that the jump might be successful, but they also showed that the damage to space-time would be much greater than their first test. "Begin the jump sequence," Sun Ho ordered. The ship's lights dimmed as enormous amounts of energy flowed into the drive system. The air itself seemed to vibrate with power. Then something strange began to happen. The stars outside the window started to bend and twist, as if they were being viewed through water. Reality around the ship began to distort. The normal laws of physics no longer applied. Space contracted in front of the vessel while expanding behind it. The ship was not moving through space in the normal way. Instead, space itself was moving around the ship. Captain Sun Ho felt his stomach turn as the universe twisted around them. The sensation was impossible to describe. It was like being turned inside out while falling through an endless void. Every atom in his body seemed to be moving in different directions at once. The jump lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. When it ended, the stars outside the windows were different. They were brighter and arranged in patterns that no human had ever seen before. The ship's computers confirmed what the crew already knew. They had successfully traveled 25 light-years in less than 10 seconds. "Jump successful," reported Yang Hiron, though her voice shook with emotion. "All systems are functioning. Normally, we are now in the Vega system." The crew cheered, but their celebration was cut short by urgent alarms. The ship's sensors were detecting something that made even experienced space travelers uneasy. Behind them, in the direction they had come from, space itself was flickering and distorting. "What are we seeing?" asked Captain Sun Ho. "It appears to be a large-scale disruption in the quantum field," replied the ship's science officer. "The space-time fabric is severely damaged along our entire flight path." Back on Earth, the monitoring stations painted an even more disturbing picture. The second test had created a tear in space that stretched for 25 light-years. It was like a cosmic scar that refused to heal. Worse, the tear was affecting nearby star systems, causing gravitational anomalies and temporal distortions. Dr. Kim Ji-ho stood in the control room, watching the data flow across dozens of screens. The readings were both amazing and terrifying. They had achieved something that scientists had only dreamed of, but the cost was becoming clear. "We are receiving massive subspace interference," reported Dr. Park Minji. "The quantum foam is breaking down across an area of several hundred cubic light-years." "How long before it stabilizes?" Ji-ho asked. "Sir," she replied quietly, "it is not stabilizing. The damage appears to be permanent." The implications hit Ji-ho like a physical blow. They had not just bent the rules of physics, they had broken them completely. The tears in space-time were not healing because they had damaged the fundamental structure of reality itself. "We are also detecting unusual energy signatures," added Dr. Shin Do-yan from the communications station. "They appear to be artificial in origin and are approaching from multiple directions." "Can you identify the source?" Ji-ho asked. "Negative, sir. But the energy patterns are consistent with advanced propulsion systems. Multiple vessels, very large, moving at high speed toward our position." The breakthrough came when Dr. Shin managed to decode some of the alien transmissions. The messages were being sent on subspace frequencies that human technology could barely detect. When translated, they painted a picture of a galaxy-wide crisis. "The transmissions are from something called the Galactic Council," he reported. They are demanding that we cease all experiments immediately. They say we are destroying the galaxy. Dr. Bejian looked up from her station with wide eyes. Sir, I am detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of our solar system. Whatever is coming, it is huge. On the main screen, long-range sensors showed the approaching objects. They were clearly artificial ships of various sizes and designs, all moving in formation toward Earth. The fleet was enormous, larger than anything humanity had ever built. How many ships? Asked Jiho. Over 200 confirmed contacts, replied the sensor operator. More are arriving every hour. The reality of the situation began to sink in. Humanity was not alone in the universe. In their first contact with alien species was happening because of the damage their experiments had caused. The aliens were not coming to welcome Earth into the galactic community. They were coming to stop them.
What are our options?
Asked Dr. Park Minji. Jiho looked at the data streaming across the screens. The alien fleet was clearly superior to anything humanity could field. Their technology was advanced beyond human understanding. But the human drive system had achieved something that these advanced species had apparently never managed. True. Faster than light travel, even if it came at a terrible cost. We need to contact the government, he said finally.
How?
This is no longer a scientific matter. We've started something that could lead to the end of human civilization. As if to emphasize his point, the communication system suddenly filled with a new transmission. This one was being broadcast on all frequencies in dozens of languages, including several human languages. This is Elder Morden of the Galactic Council, the voice said. We demand the immediate cessation of your space-time manipulation experiments. Your actions threaten the stability of local space and endanger countless civilizations. We are prepared to use force, if necessary. It's the age of human. Isolation was ending, and it was ending with what might be the first interstellar war in human history. The Galactic Council fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system like a metallic storm. The ships appeared suddenly, their arrival creating brief flashes of light that could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. 200. Vessels of different shapes and sizes took up positions around Earth's orbital space, each one representing a different species and culture. The largest ship was a massive elacid crystal structure that seemed to grow and shift as it moved. This was Elder Morden's flagship, the Voice of Reason. Around it, smaller vessels formed protective formations. Some ships looked like living creatures with organic curves and flowing lines. Others were angular and mechanical, built for pure efficiency. All of them were clearly more advanced than anything humanity had ever created. On Earth, world leaders gathered in emergency session in the United Nations. Building in New York, the sight of the alien fleet had caused panic in major cities around the world. Stock markets had crashed. Military forces were on high alert. Religious leaders were calling it everything from the end, times to humanity's greatest opportunity. President Chen Wei of the United Earth Federation stood before the assembled delegates. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but her voice carried the authority of her office. We face a situation that no human government has ever dealt with, she began. We must decide how to respond to this alien ultimatum. Do we surrender our greatest scientific achievement, or do we stand firm in our right to explore the universe? The debate that followed was heated and chaotic. Some delegates wanted to negotiate immediately. Others called for military resistance. A few suggested that humanity should simply surrender and hope for mercy. Dr. Kim, Jiho, had been brought to the meeting to provide technical expertise. He stood at the podium, looking out at the most powerful people on Earth. The weight of their decision would determine the future of the human species. The aliens are correct about one thing, he said quietly. Our faster-than-light drive is causing serious damage to the fabric of space-time. Each time we use it, we create tears in reality that do not heal. But what are the benefits? Asked the delegate from the European Union. What could we gain from this technology? Everything, Jiho replied. With this drive, we could explore the entire galaxy. We could find new worlds, new resources, new knowledge. We could secure the future of humanity among the stars. What cost? demanded the delegate from the African Federation. If we destroy the galaxy in the process, what would we have gained? Dr. Park Minji stepped forward. We've been studying the problem since the first test. The damage is cumulative. Each jump makes the space-time distortions worse. If we continue without solving the stability problem, we could eventually cause a cascade failure that would tear apart local space. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They were not just risking human lives, they were risking the stability of the entire region of space around Earth. There might be another way, said a young voice from the back of the room. Dr. Beijiang stepped forward, her tablet in hand. I have been working on a theoretical solution. A containment field that could limit the damage caused by each jump. Eyes turned to her as she continued. The quantum cascade that powers our drive creates the space-time tears, but we might be able to develop a field that would contain the damage to a small area around the vessel itself. How long would it take to develop? Asked President Chen. Months, maybe years, Jiang replied. We would need to completely redesign the drive system. Time we do not have, Chen observed, gesturing toward the screens showing the alien fleet. They are not here for extended negotiations. They want us to stop immediately. The debate continued for hours while the alien fleet maintained its position. Finally, a vote was called. The question was simple but profound. Should humanity surrender? It's faster than light technology to avoid conflict with the Galactic Council. The vote was closer than many expected. In the end, the deciding factor was not the technology itself, but what it represented. Humanity had always been defined by its refusal to accept limitations. From the first human who looked at the sky and wondered what lay beyond, to the scientists who split the atom and reached for the stars. Humans had always pushed forward regardless of the risks. We will not surrender, President Chen announced to the world. We will attempt to negotiate with the aliens, but we will not abandon our research. The decision was transmitted to the alien fleet within minutes. The response came back just as quickly, and it was not encouraging. This is Fleet Commander Zefter of the Galactic Council, came the translated message. You have 1 solar day to reconsider your position. If you do not agree to cease your experiments, we will be forced to take action. On the bridge of the voice of reason, Elder Morden studied the human response with a mixture of admiration and concern. In his 1,000 years of life, he had seen many species face similar ultimatums. Most chose to negotiate, some chose to fight. But few chose to continue their dangerous activities while facing overwhelming odds. The humans are either very brave or very foolish, commented his aide, a tall being with blue-green skin and large eyes. Perhaps both, Morden replied. They have also accomplished something that our best scientists said was impossible. That makes them dangerous in ways we may not fully understand. Back on Earth, the scientific teams worked frantically to perfect Dr. Beijiang's containment field theory. They had less than 24 hours to develop a solution that had eluded them for months. The field equations are stable, she reported to the emergency council meeting. But we need to test it. We need to make another jump to see if the containment system works. That would be seen as a direct provocation, warned the military advisor. Aliens have told us to stop all experiments. But if we can prove that our drive can be used safely, Jiang argued, maybe we can negotiate from a position of strength. The decision was made to conduct one more test. Captain Cho Sunho, who had returned from his successful jump to the Vega system, volunteered his ship and crew for the dangerous mission. The Taigok would make another jump, this time with the experimental containment field activated. If this works, we might be able to convince the aliens that our technology is not a threat, Sunho explained to his crew. If it fails, we will probably start the first interstellar war in human history. The ship launched under cover of darkness, hoping to complete the test before the alien fleet could intervene. But the aliens had been monitoring all human activity. Since their arrival, they detected the energy buildup immediately. Human vessel is preparing to activate their drive system, reported the sensor operator aboard the flagship. All ships, prepare for immediate action, ordered Fleet Commander Zeftar. We cannot allow another test. The Taigok activated its Modify drive system just as the alien ships began to move. The containment field flickered to life around the vessel, shimmering barrier of energy that was supposed to limit the damage from the space-time tear. The jump was successful. The ship crossed 20 light-years in seconds, appearing in the Alpha Centauri system. But this time, something was different. The tear in space-time was smaller, more controlled, and most importantly, it began to heal almost immediately. "The containment field is working," reported the ship's engineer with excitement. "The space-time damage is minimal and self-repairing," but their celebration was short-lived. The alien fleet had followed them, their ships appearing moments after. The Taiguk's arrival. The human ship was now surrounded by hostile alien vessels, all with weapons charged and ready to fire. "This is Fleet Commander Zeftar," came the transmission. "You will surrender your vessel immediately and submit to Council authority. You have violated our direct orders and threatened galactic stability." Captain Sunho looked at his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had driven humanity to the stars. They had proven that their technology could be controlled, but they were still outnumbered and outgunned. "This is Captain Sunho of the Earth vessel Taigok," he replied. "We have demonstrated that our drive system can be used safely. We request that you examine our data before taking any hostile action." The response came not in words, but in weapon fire. The battle between the Taigok and the alien fleet was over almost before it began. The human ship, despite its revolutionary faster-than-light drive, was no match for the combined firepower of the Galactic Council vessels. Energy beams lanced through space, striking the Taiguk's shields and hull with devastating effect. "Captain," Cho Soon-ho gripped his command chair as the ship shook under the alien assault. Sparks flew from damaged control panels, and the lights flickered as power systems overloaded. Through the bridge windows, he could see the alien ships surrounding them like predators circling wounded prey. "Shields are down to 30%, reported the tactical officer. "Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. We cannot take much more of this." "Return fire," Sunho ordered, even though he knew it was hopeless. The Taiguk's weapons were primitive compared to the alien technology. Their missiles and energy beams had little effect on the advance. Alien shields. But something unexpected happened during the brief engagement. The alien science officer aboard Fleet Commander Zeftar's vessel was monitoring the battle when he noticed something remarkable about the human ship's drive system. "Commander," he called out urgently. "The human vessel's space-time distortions are different from what we detected before. The tears are healing themselves." Zeftar was an experienced military commander from a warrior species. His people had fought in many galactic conflicts, but he was also intelligent enough to recognize when something important was happening. "Explain," he ordered, his weapons continuing to fire at the human ship. "The humans have modified their drive system," the science officer reported, his tentacles moving rapidly over his instruments. "They have developed some kind of containment field. Space-time damage is minimal and self-repairing." The commander's eyes widened in amazement. In all the recorded history of the galaxy, no species had found a way to use gravitational collapse for faster-than-light travel without causing permanent damage to space-time. It was considered impossible by the greatest scientific minds in the galaxy. "Are you certain?" he asked. "Completely certain, sir. The field equations are stable, and the quantum foam is returning to normal levels within minutes of each jump." Zeftar made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Ceasefire," he ordered. "All ships, stop your attack." The sudden end to the battle left both sides confused. The Taigok was heavily damaged, but still functional. Its crew waited tensely for the next assault, but it never came. "This is Fleet Commander Zeftar to the human vessel," came the transmission. "We are calling a temporary ceasefire. We require more information about your drive modifications." Captain Sunho was suspicious but relieved. His ship was in no condition to continue fighting. "What do you want to know?" he replied. "We want to examine your containment field technology. Our scientists believed such a system was impossible to create." Dr. Li Juan, the ship's chief engineer, stepped forward. We would be willing to share our research data in exchange for safe passage back to Earth. Agreed, Zephyr replied. But first, we must verify that your system actually works as you claim. Over the next several hours, the alien scientists conducted detailed scans of the Taiguk's drive system. They analyzed the containment field, equations, studied the quantum cascade patterns, and measured the space-time distortions caused by the human technology. What they found amazed them. The humans had solved a problem that had stumped galactic scientists for millennia. The containment field used a complex series of quantum barriers to isolate the artificial black holes from the surrounding spacetime. This prevented the gravitational collapse from creating permanent tears in reality. "This is remarkable," reported the lead alien scientist to Fleet Commander Zephyr. "The humans have accomplished in weeks what our best researchers could not achieve in centuries." "How is that possible?" Zephyr asked. "They are a primitive species with limited technology. Their approach is completely different from ours," the scientist explained. "Where we sought to work within the established laws of physics, they simply broke those laws and then found ways to control the consequences." Back on Earth, the temporary ceasefire had given the human government time to prepare for what many believed would be humanity's last stand. Military forces around the world were mobilized. Orbital defense platforms were activated. Every available weapon was aimed at the alien fleet. But Dr. Kim Ji-ho and his team were focused on a different kind of preparation. We're working to improve the containment field design based on the data transmitted back from the Taiguk. "If we can prove that our technology is safe," Ji-ho explained to President Chen Wei, "we might be able to negotiate a peaceful resolution." "And if we cannot?" she asked. "And we fight," he replied grimly. "But we will fight with weapons that can cross the galaxy in seconds." The breakthrough came when Dr. Bai Jiang realized that the containment field could be scaled up to protect entire fleets of ships. Instead of limiting the technology to single vessels, they could create formation-flying spacecraft that shared a single large containment field. "This changes everything," she reported to the Emergency Council. "We could have faster than light travel for our entire space fleet, all while keeping the space-time damage to a minimum." Meanwhile, in the Alpha Centauri system, Fleet Commander Zephyr was receiving new orders from the Galactic Council. The emergency session had reconvened. After receiving his reports about the human containment field technology, "The Council is divided," came the message from Elder Morden. "Some members want to destroy the human homeworld immediately. Others believe we should study their technology. You are ordered to maintain the ceasefire until we can reach a decision." But Zephyr had already made his own decision. He had spent his entire career fighting threats to galactic stability. But the humans were not just a threat, they were also an opportunity. Their reckless approach to problem-solving had led them to discover something that could benefit the entire galaxy. "Prepare a message to the human government," he ordered. His communications officer, "Tell them that I want to arrange a meeting between their scientists and our research teams." The message reached Earth within hours. President Chen Wei and her advisors debated the alien offer intensely. Was it a trap, or was it a genuine opportunity for peaceful contact? "We have to try," argued Dr. Kim Ji-ho. "If we can convince them that our technology is safe, we might avoid a war that would destroy both sides." "And if it is a trap?" asked the military advisor. "Then we will have lost nothing," Ji-ho replied. "We were already facing overwhelming odds. This might be our only chance to find a peaceful solution." The decision was made to send a delegation of scientists to meet with the alien researchers. The meeting would take place aboard Fleet Commander Zephyr's ship. Under a flag of truce, Dr. Bai Jiang was chosen to lead the human delegation. As the primary developer of the containment field technology, she was the best person to explain how it worked and why it was safe. Remember, President Chen told her before she left, "You are not just representing our scientific community. You are representing the future of human civilization." As the small human shuttle approached the massive alien flagship, Jiang felt the weight of history on her shoulders. The next few hours would determine whether humanity would join the galactic community as equals, or whether they would face extinction for their dangerous discoveries. The age of human isolation was ending. But how it would end remained to be seen. The human shuttle docked with the alien flagship in the vast emptiness of space between stars. Dr. Bei-jiang stepped through the airlock into an environment unlike anything she had ever experienced. The interior of the ship was filled with a soft blue light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The corridors were wide and curved, designed to accommodate beings of many different shapes and sizes. Fleet Commander Zefter met her at the docking bay. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with dark blue skin and intelligent golden eyes. His people, the Kaleri, were known throughout the galaxy for their military prowess and their sense of honor. "Welcome aboard the Infinite Horizon," he said, his words translated by a small device attached to his collar. "I hope this meeting will lead to a peaceful resolution of our conflict." Jiang nodded nervously. She carried with her a datapad containing all of humanity's research on the containment field technology. The future of her species might depend on how well she could explain their discoveries. "I am honored to be here," she replied. "I hope we can find a way to work together instead of fighting." They walked through the ship's corridors to a large conference room where alien scientists from dozens of different species were waiting. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Others breathed different gases through specialized masks. A few or so, alien that Jion could not even guess how they communicated, but all of them were focused on the same thing, understanding how humans had solved the problem of safe faster-than-light travel. "Please, explain your containment field technology," requested Dr. Velther, the lead Galactic Council scientist.
Right.
He was a tall, thin being with long fingers and large eyes that seemed to see everything at once. Gil activated her datapad, and holographic displays filled the air around the conference table. The equations and diagrams showed the complex mathematical relationships that made the containment field possible. The key breakthrough came when we realized that the artificial black holes could be isolated from the surrounding spacetime using quantum barriers, she explained. Instead of trying to prevent the gravitational collapse, we contain its effects within a limited area. The alien scientists studied the data with growing amazement. They asked detailed questions about the field, equations, the power requirements, and the stability of the quantum barriers. Jiang answered each question as clearly as she could. "This is revolutionary," commented Dr. Zinth, a crystalline being whose body chimed like wind chimes when she spoke. "You have approached the problem from a completely different angle then." "Any of our researchers? But is it safe?" asked Dr. Morgith, a large creature covered in thick plates of bone. "How do we know that the containment field will not fail?" "We have run extensive simulations," Jiang replied. "The field has multiple backup systems and fail-safes. Even if the primary containment fails, the secondary systems will prevent any major damage to spacetime." The debate continued for hours. As the alien scientists analyzed the human technology from every possible angle, they tested the mathematical models, ran computer simulations, and compared the results to their own research. Finally, Dr. Velther spoke for the group. "We have reached a conclusion. The human containment field technology is not only safe, but it represents a fundamental advancement in faster-than-light travel. This could revolutionize transportation throughout the galaxy." Fleet Commander Zefter leaned forward in his chair. "What do you recommend?" "We recommend that the Galactic Council accept the human technology and allow them to continue their research under our guidance," Velthar replied. "In exchange, they should share their discoveries with the galactic community." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the Galactic Council had reconvened an emergency session. Elder Morden stood before the assembled delegates, his ancient eyes reflecting. "The weight of the decision they faced? The humans have demonstrated capabilities that we find both alarming and impressive," he began. "Their reckless approach to problem-solving has led them to discover something that could benefit the entire galaxy." The reports from Fleet Commander Zeftar had changed everything. The humans were not just dangerous, they were also innovative, in ways that the galaxy had never seen before. Their willingness to break the fundamental laws of physics had led them to solutions that conventional thinking could never reach. "I propose that we offer the humans full membership in the Galactic," Council Morden continued. "Their technology, properly controlled, could revolutionize space travel for all our species." The chamber erupted in debate. Some delegates argued that the humans were too dangerous to be trusted. Others believed that their technology was too valuable to ignore. The discussion continued for hours as representatives from hundreds of worlds weighed the benefits against the risks. Finally, Ambassador Vextari spoke up. The humans have shown that they can control their technology. They have also shown that they will not back down from a fight, even when facing overwhelming odds. Perhaps it is better to have them as allies than as enemies. The vote was closer than anyone expected, but in the end, the decision was unanimous. The Galactic Council would offer humanity full membership, with all the rights and responsibilities that came with it. Back aboard the Infinite Horizon, Dr. Beijiang received the news with a mixture of relief and excitement. The meeting with the alien scientists had gone better than she had dared to hope. The Council has agreed to accept humanity as a member species, Fleet Commander Zefdar announced. But there are conditions. What conditions? Jiang asked. First, all faster-than-light experiments must be conducted under Galactic Council supervision. Second, your containment field technology must be shared with the scientific community. Third, you must agree to help us develop safer methods of space travel. Jiang thought about the conditions carefully. They were reasonable, and they would give humanity access to the vast knowledge and resources of the galactic community. I believe my government will find these terms acceptable, she replied. But I cannot make the decision alone, of course, Zefdar said. We will escort you back to Earth so that you can present our offer to your leaders. The journey back to Earth took place in a small convoy of ships. The human shuttle flew alongside several alien vessels, a symbol of the new cooperation between species that had been enemies just days before. On Earth, President Chen Wei and her advisors gathered to hear Dr. Jiang's report. The terms offered by the Galactic Council were generous, but they also represented a fundamental change in humanity's relationship with the universe. We would gain access to technologies and knowledge beyond our wildest dreams, Jiang explained. But we would also have to accept that we are no longer alone in the galaxy. We would be part of something much larger than ourselves. The debate in the United Nations was intense but brief. The benefits of joining the galactic community far outweighed the costs. Humanity would gain allies, trading partners, and access to scientific knowledge that could advance their civilization by thousands of years. We accept the Council's offer, President Chen announced to the world. Today, humanity takes its first steps toward becoming a truly galactic species. The formal treaty was signed 3 months later in a ceremony that was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Elder Morden and President Chen Wei stood together as representatives of their respective civilizations, their signatures marking the end of humanity's isolation. The human faster-than-light drive, now officially called the Quantum Cascade Engine, became the foundation for a new generation of interstellar travel. The containment field technology was adapted for use by dozens of other species, making space travel safer and more efficient throughout the galaxy. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy viewed humanity itself. The species that had once been considered primitive and dangerous was now recognized as innovative and determined. Their willingness to take risks that others would not consider had led to breakthroughs that benefited everyone. Dr. Kim Ji-ho, serving as Earth's chief science advisor to the Galactic Council, stood on the observation deck of the first human-built starship to use the new technology. Through the windows, he could see the stars that had once seemed impossibly distant. "We did it," he said to Dr. Beijiang, who stood beside him. "We found a way to reach the stars." "Yes," she replied, "but more importantly, we found a way to do it safely." The galaxy is a much more interesting place when you do not have to worry about tearing it apart. As their ship engaged its quantum cascade drive and leaped toward distant stars, Giho reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. Humanity had achieved the impossible not once but twice. First, by developing faster-than-light travel, and then by making it safe enough for the entire galaxy to use. The universe was no longer an empty void filled with distant lights. It was a neighborhood full of friends, allies, and endless possibilities. And humanity had earned its place in that neighborhood through the same qualities that had always defined the species: curiosity, determination, and the absolute refusal to accept that something was impossible. The stars were calling. And for the first time in human history, humanity was ready to answer.